Hey there, I'm Ruben Zafra from Zafra Music, and in today's video I'm gonna show you the mix I did for the Killswitch Engage cover. We did Toby and I and Javi Pereira. And yeah, it sounds like this, and I will break down everything I did with the mix. It's a bit different from usual, so tell me what you think about it. And if you want more, just say it. So it sounds like this. So yeah, Toby prepared everything for this cover. He used Easy Drummer 3, I believe. I added some samples that you can see here and here, but toms are what it came with. Bass is Human Sky, as you can see, the new library that Submission Audio came with. And I split it into two, into low and the actual sound with no processing, as I see. This was basically to show the amp knob from Bogren Digital. I really love this plugin. I've been trialing it because Toby has it and he already printed the tone from it. But I got the trial so you could see exactly how it works, because this is the DIs and this is the actual tone that he gave me. So yeah, let's start with drums, because I always start with drums. Let me turn off all the processing. Yeah, the kick sounded like this. I will mute this because it's just a duplicate from the kick in I used to trigger with trigger. So yeah, it sounds pretty cool. Cool snap. I like the 1K-ish sound that it has. Let me see what I did. Just some basic EQ on the kick in because it sounded pretty good already. Let me loop this. You can hear it's very subtle. This was bypassed. And this is with. Just some basic EQ, cutting the low mids and some mids as well, and bringing a bit more of the attack. Weird enough, because I always use like 8K or something, but in this case it was 6.5. And I also removed a lot of high-end, because with these samples maybe sometimes you have like a lot of high-end on them already, and when you go in the mastering chain and everything and add more and more and more, it can be a bit fatiguing. So that's why I usually remove a bit of the high-end information with kick samples, especially. So yeah, a bit of the boxiness. The more you move here, the more you remove here around 150 to 250, the deeper the kick sounds, but you can end up with a bit of phase problems sometimes. Another typical move, cutting a lot of the mid range on the drums, because they sound boxy if you don't. Let me boost this. You don't want that. So yeah, I don't know what it was, but more or less like that. And this was the attack. I always want like an even lows and highs. This one is different from Fab Filter because the tilt, I believe, it's different. It always shows more lows than highs, but they can be pretty even as they were right now. I guess with Q3 you would have more even. Let me try. See, with Fab Filter you can hover around this area and it shows you the actual curve. I always want more like even highs and lows from my drums especially, but mostly everything. So yeah, this was the kick in. Let's go with kick out. There was a lot of weird. I like the sound of it, but I don't think it contributes to the actual sound of the kick. So I removed a lot of high end and low, and well, low mids and mids in general. So you have like more low mid range sound to build to your kick. Yeah, I removed a lot of that. I always tend to use that with kick outs. Sometimes not, because maybe the kick in doesn't have that high end click, and the kick out for that is pretty cool around the 1K area. But this one already had a lot of 1K, so I thought removing this because it would build up. Also with the kick sample I'm gonna use, it also has a lot of 1.5K or something. So yeah, that's what I'm aiming for lately. I really like 1K kicks a lot. I was the opposite. I always cut 1K out of my kicks, but lately I've been enjoying more and more that kind of sound. And the sub, it has no processing on it. Yeah. You can see it adds to the overall sound. I like it. And then this is a kick sample I use. I think it's a blend of 3. Yeah. See, this one has a lot of high end as well. I removed it, but it still has a lot. What I was telling you about it. This one is because it's already mixed as well. So that's why it has a lot of smack, a lot of high end. See, I really like that 1K kicks lately. These ones are from Taylor Larson. These ones from the Jason Richardson album a while ago. I don't know where I got them from. And this was the kick in, I believe, from the newer Luke Holland pack that Mixway has. I really like the sound, so I thought it was cool to blend it with the original kick. And altogether it sounds like this. A lot of 1K. I love it. And when it comes to the processing in the kick bus, it's pretty simple. It just has this one, the Ssl 9000J, removing some high end as well, again, because you could hear it's a bit clicky. You can really hear there in the high end that click, and it's very annoying, very fatiguing. This one, I always remove this knob here because it's only what I usually hear. So remove this if you don't want a lot of hiss. I usually use this one as well, the distortion, but I didn't this time. Don't know why, but I didn't. And yeah, basically the typical Ssl compressor. This one, I usually do it in two different ways. Maybe sometimes I just put this one on 2 or 3, depends, and then move the ratio so it gets between 3 and 6 dB, mostly 3, but sometimes it can get 6. But also I saw CLA do this a lot. He just basically puts the threshold all the way up and then starts bringing the ratio in until he gets the desired amount of compression. It's two different ways. I don't use one or another. It depends on the mood on that moment, I don't know. And also I bring out some 55 Hz it was. Yeah. On the bell setting with the kick. You can hear immediately a lot of more low end and also the kick compression kick in. Sounds amazing. This plugin sounds amazing. A bit more hi-fi than the E, the 4000. And for drums, I really like this one because it has more. The lows are lower and the highs are higher, and I really like the compressor on drums with this one. So yeah. Oh well, I have a kick room sample. Yeah, it's a one shot, I believe, or it's another pack from Taylor Rason. Lately I've been using a lot of his samples. This was one that he recorded long ago in a barn, I believe it was. Yeah, pretty cool kick sound. It may sound a lot of kick room, but in the end you don't hear it that much. I'm really a room person. I really like rooms on my drums. I think it's the thing that makes them real for per se. So yeah, with the snare, yeah, again, Easy Drummer 3. Let me remove the processing on it. I wasn't a fan of this snare. I think it sounds cool, but it's weird. It doesn't have that attack that I'm looking for. It's weird. It has no body. It's weird. So yeah, let me see what I did here. Yeah, autoline is just for aligning these other two samples. The SPL Transient Designer with a lot of attack is because I think it really lacks that. Now we're talking, we have more attack. Then Claro again, one of my favorite EQs lately. Because of the auto gain, it's amazing. And then when you have everything here, you can tweak, it's amazing as well. Now we're talking, now we have a lot more thought on the snare. Well, let me bypass the mute the bottom snare. This is pretty drastic. I really love it. So yeah, this is typically what I would do with snare samples or snares in general. Boost the fundamental. You can see with Claro is very cool because I always used to use the SSL strip and just bring 200 in, but lately with Claro you can see where it's at and you can boost exactly that one, so it's really cool. So you always get exactly the fundamental, so it's pretty cool. Again, removing lately I'm also liking a lot of 1K-ish snares, but in this particular snare I felt it had like weird sounds around here. You could hear it. Way too boxy, I don't like it. And this may be a weird resonance that I was hearing. yeah, I don't like it. And again, removing the high end. All that hiss, I don't want it. It adds up to everything, and in the end, it's just a mess of hiss. The bottom snare has nothing. It sounds cool as it is. I always got the low end part of the snares, of the bottom snare, forever, but lately I've been enjoying having that low end on the bottom snare as well. I like it. Now it's a very good snare. But to cutting, it needs a bit more processing and some samples as well. Again, the Ssl 9000G. I randomized this one. I don't know why. I just clicked one of this and that's it. I'll always remove this one. See, now it's 3:1 ratio. This is the other way around. Three, almost 6. I'd say it's more 4 or 5. Again, adding a lot of more low end on the snare. It brings the detail with the compressor, and I always like very bassy snares. Yeah, then I forgot this one. My favorite plugin lately, the Benson Germanium Boost. I really love it on everything. You will see it a couple times here and there because I like it everywhere, even on lead guitars, or not here, but I use it on vocals, on lead guitars, on room mics, on overheads, on toms, on snares, kicks, even in the master bus sometimes, but I didn't in this time because this was pretty recent when I did this. Now I'm using it everywhere, for everything and everywhere. Yeah. I like a lot of saturation. I love it. It may seem too much, but in the end, with everything on, it's not that much. To use this one, you have to be careful with the input because it always is on 0 and it may be a lot. See, that's way too much, even for me. So you have to look at the input, and then, because I find the sweet spot around here, 7.3 more or less, in between 6 and 8. It's overboard if you go above, and very subtle if you are on 5. So I always like to put this one on 7 and then back up the input so it distorts the way I want. Yeah, I love this plugin. Sometimes, especially with rooms and overheads, I would use the output filter. They are very cool and handy to have here. And there's also a mix knob. I usually use it sometimes, but not this time. You have to be careful on the output as well, because if you have the input at 0 and bring this up, it will be overboard. So you have to back up the output as well. Sometimes you have to even to push the input a bit, but I always tend to back off the input, get the distortion I want, and then adjust the output to be more or less level matched. I don't think I did it in this time, but more or less. So yeah, then we come to the samples. This one, it's also from the Look Holland pack, the unmixed stuff, because I wanted more of a raw sound. I went with the kick with the processing on because I thought it was really cool. But this one, it's a bit too much already. So I prefer to get the raw sound and then tweak it myself. So yeah, this is basically the Luke Holland mixed wave pack. All the mics separate. This is the balance I have right now. I really love overhead snare samples. I feel this sounds like a snare. This one, yeah, it sounds like a mic snare, of course, but it's not like how a real snare sounds. And the overhead also gives a bit of width to the snare. I really like it. I love it. So yeah, pretty similar processing as I did here. I'm trying to do this a lot lately. Again, auto align is just for aligning the face of the two. Again, a lot of transient designer. Yeah, I like transient designers a lot on snares. Again, this may be same, if not very close to the same EQ. Again, boosting the fundamental. Well, it may not be because I don't think it was the same. Cutting some mid-range and then boosting some high-end. See, this one is more like 9K. See, the auto gain feature is insane. Amazing that you don't have to adjust the output of it all the time. And you can do crazy stuff, like if you got like a lot of stuff and end up with like basically this thing, it will compensate automatically, so you don't have to be constantly adjusting the output. So it's amazing. Again, this thing, I think this one is basically the same as the other one. Yeah, less compression on this one, and the same frequency, same channel even. And again, mixed wave. See, this one, it has a bit less. This one, the other one was -7. This one is -5, or like 4.5. But again, same place here, and adjusting the output back to level match. It's amazing. This plugin is amazing. This one is very processed already. These ones are from Taylor Larson as well. This may be the 3.0 already processed snare, and this one I don't know where it came from. It's from Taylor, but I don't know which pack it is. Completely forgot. Yeah, there's some phase issues here. I think so. Oh yeah, well. Looks like it. And again, this plugin again on the snare boss. Oh, this one was pushed a bit more. Feels a bit more subtle, but I like what it's doing. And again, snare. This may be from GGD. And these two, I'm sure they are from Taylor as well. But this one is the one that's more used. Yeah. Toms. Let me go through a part with toms, like here. Great sounding toms. I think I used basically the same, so I will go just for one because they are basically the same, but tweaked, of course, to match the cuts. Yeah, pretty typical thing for me to do here. I will go for just above the fundamental on the tom because look how it sounds. I hate that. You can see here it's just above the fundamental. And then I think I learned a while back is that you usually go for 5 times this and it gets again another weird frequency that you have to cut. This wasn't exactly that, maybe more around here, but more or less. Yeah, more or less. So if this is 250, 5 times that, it's between 250 and 1K. So you just go and use your ears to determine which, if it's what you don't like. Also a big boost on the attack of the toms. And I usually remove this thing as well, especially in toms. But as these are not live toms, because there's a lot of bleed coming from the toms always, so I always cut, but I didn't this time. Again, the Ssl 9000J, removing this shit, and this is just for compression. I love the compressor on this one for drums. And again, the Benson plugin. This one, see, it's the input is at 0, but I have to back off a lot of the output to compensate. This was a very quick mix, so I didn't care about the sustain that much. I know it's a bit too much here, but in context you don't hear that much. And yeah, basically it's the same here, more or less. More or less, it's the same. Just this thing is just for compression and a bit of color, and then the mix wave to saturate even more. Yeah, hard and right, did nothing on those, and just pan it a little bit overhead. I felt like these were already pretty bright, so I just used soothe, sharpness all the way up, and aim that it's never getting there, I believe. Yeah, more like between 3 and 6 in the bigger hits. When you press this one, you can hear exactly what it's removing. This overhead had a lot of kit information. I usually like it, but for this style of music, I don't that much. Maybe for softer rock or softer metal, I would use a lot of this stuff. But for this style, I prefer to keep it a bit more clean on the low end. So yeah. Removing a bit of mid-range as well, boosting a tiny bit of high, and removing a lot of hiss. I don't like that. Fuck that shit. Again, this would be basically the same, but I use more low end on this one. This shit always happens when I have open Claro or Soothe or two instances. Like if I have one and then click on another one, it freezes my PC. So that's why I couldn't click. Now I can. Yeah. A bit more air. See, it glitches out a lot. It's so weird. Yeah, removing low end, low mids, but not that crazy like the other thing, because I felt like these two were together. And we even have a third mic. I don't like it that much, but it adds to the whole picture. And it's basically the same, yeah. But this I removed more high end because it sounds compressed, and when you compress overheads and rooms, it gets a bit messy. Even I have Soothe on, but yeah. Going in the rooms, this plugin is the shit. I always compress my rooms like this, middle attack and fastest release, and depends on how much I need. This one was already a bit compressed, so I didn't want it that much, but this thing brings a lot of harmonics, and I like it a lot on rooms especially. Brings a lot of detail, but again it adds that high-end hiss I don't like. Then my favorite plugin right now. Oh, this is loud. I didn't compensate for the output on this one. This was pretty fast mix. I love this kind of room sound with a lot of low mids energy. I think it fills out a lot. It fills a lot of the low mid and low spectrum of the drums. I really love it on drums. I use it every time, this thing. Some people use Decapitator or something. I used to use that, but now I'm using this one every time. Compensating for all that harmonics that's coming. This is what I'm talking about. When you compress a lot of room, it sounds harsh here. And it's way too much. That's way too much as well. This is just a cleanup EQ. Maybe I wouldn't use it that much right now, but I did it here. I would always cut this area because it's too harsh. But yeah. Room, oh well, and Soothe again. Same settings. And this may be like copy paste of the other thing. Well, the settings are the same. Compression is a bit more on the snares, but less on the other parts. Sorry, it's a bit more on the snare, but less on the kicks. Again, this plugin and Soothe. This is basically the same, but they sounded cool, so I didn't touch it. I didn't like this mic. it's way too distorted even for me. And yeah, I used a little bit of this one because I thought it was a cool parallel sound. Nothing super crazy, but I like it. And then if we come to the top, we have 3 parallel basses. This is more like an Eve. That's why I call it like this. It's not this one, but it's for reference. I send all the drums, like from here, as you can see, all. It's compressing and give it a bit of saturation as well. Love it. An API plugin as well. All the drums are sent there. High ratio, fastest release, fastest attack. Again, grabbing all those transients and giving that saturation as well. I love that kind of kick sound and blend it together. It's amazing. Then we have this one. It's an 1178. You can get away with an 1176 for sure. Again, another flavor. 3 flavors. Those 3 sound like that together. Yeah, basically to add up to all the drums sound. Then we go to snare reverbs. This I really like this reverb on snares. It's very subtle. I could get away using more, but yeah, it is what it is. Oh, this one is not even that one. Yeah, well. Pop filter per way, snare plate, tweaked a bit. Yeah. Love this plugin, especially for the GUI. I get hypnotized. And yeah, then a little bit of room, realistic Folsom sound, weird preset, but yeah, it works. Then we go to Tom Reverb. Again, this was another preset. I saw this from Will Podney, and ever since I used it, I love this. It gives Tom space, as the preset says. I really like it. It's very low. I could get away with more reverb on this mix, but I didn't. And this is just the another like drum room sound. I think it's tweaked a bit as well, but because these 5, well now these 3 as well are like my template drum basses. So yeah, I always send all drums as well to this thing. It gives a bit of more space. But they are very subtle. You wouldn't even hear a difference, I think. Tiny bit. Nothing crazy. Let's go to bass. So as I said, I split the bass into 2 parts, the low part and the high grit part, but I didn't use any processing, so this is basically how it sounds. Amazing bass sound, amazing. It's very well programmed as well, but I mean, it's very hard to tell if it's a real player or not when it's all the mixed together, of course there are some parts that you can clearly see that they are not human, but if you program them well, you can get away with a lot of stuff. Yeah, this is the low end part of the bass. It's a bit more saturated with Saturn and limited a lot. I used this from Buster Olholm Nail the Mix. I saw it and I liked it. I tried it. I love it. As you can see, I always use this with the DI, but as I didn't have it, I had to use this thing. Removing low end and on just above the mid range. I don't want. I always got like from 290 and up. It's a great part, and 240, 230 depends. And below is the low part. So I always remove this thing because this is where guitars live, and I will cut it either way. So why not do this already here? Then basically this limiter. This is a preset that it's this one, the bass limiter 2. But you have to tweak a lot of this. If you press Alt, I believe, and move, it automatically compensates for this. So I always aim for 9, 10 dB of reduction. It will differ from bass to bass, so I have to adjust this. And these settings are basically the limiter, the preset here. It has attack. Before I used to use 3-0 attack on the low end, but I feel it gives a lot of punch to the bass, and I like it more this way lately. Then Saturn on the warm tape, saturating everything, and as it creates a lot of harmonics again, I would again use a filter to remove all this. I don't want this from the low end. You may not hear this if you don't have great headphones or a sub or monitors. Yeah, this is the low end, and both together sound like this. And yeah, then we come to the bass. I love this plugin on the bass of the bass. Just by engaging it, even with everything removed, it already changes the sound of it. Let me try. See, everything is removed, but it already has like a. And I always like to bring it here because the input on these plugins give saturation to the source. The more you push it, the more saturation it gives. It starts with second harmonics, and then it goes up and up and up. And I really like to be in the yellow, orange, starting orange. Yeah. Now I can't remember which things I had. So yeah, basically more sub, more bass. You always have. I always love bassy basses. And a bit more distortion as well. Then we come into Q3. Weird stuff happening here. If you want the bass to cut, you need to boost around here or a bit more, it depends. But this frequency right here is what, for me, it's what makes the bass stand out more, and in the mix especially. Again, I'm cutting more of this area because the other bass wasn't filtered, so yeah. this is where guitars live. I always use this in conjunction with the guitar so I can exactly see what I'm cutting. You don't need that on bass, and also this bass low end would live between 60 and 150 ish area, so I always boost that on bass and then remove that a bit on guitars. I don't know if I did on this one, but I usually solo bass and guitar and then start tweaking the EQ to make them glue together. Weird resonance that I was hearing, and again removing a lot of hiss because you don't need that on bass. You can even get away with even less, but I like how it sounded. See, you don't need that. And this is the ultra lows that disturb the kick, so yeah, remove that. You can't even hear it a lot, so why have it there? You can get more volume with if you do that on the overall mix. This is a weird one. Again, this would be like in the later stages of the mix to even make it cut more. These frequencies are what make the bass stand out. And this thing is because it was too much. It's a honking frequency. I told you to boost it, but maybe sometimes it's too much and creates that weird sound that you cannot stop hearing it until you remove it in the mix. I don't like that sound. Again, a little bit of soothe, or a lot. Sometimes I want that squeakiness from the bass, but in this style of music, that's not that genty or brutal. I don't like it that much. It helps cutting the bass a lot, but in this mix it was too much. It cleans up the bass a lot. And again, claro, I always do this trick in the end of the mix where I would just adjust the low end on every instrument. So when I have everything complete, I think like the bass needs a bit more low end, then I just use a low shell filter and boost it until I like it. This was for sure in the later stages of the mix. Now coming with guitars, this was the tone that I had. And this is the plugin, so you can see how it sounds. Just one knob, bring the gain in, and that's it. I just wanted to show you the plugin because these guitars were done with that plugin. So you can see it's exactly that. Nothing different. So guitar. See, I like this on guitars more and vocals than drums, lately. So yeah, this is what it does. This may seem weird to people, but I boost lately a lot of 500, 400 because it's the note. I feel like that's more the note of the guitars. And sometimes you need that. This was just boosting a little bit. Look, this may interfere with guitar, with bass, but I don't care. So yeah, again removing the keys and just adding a bit of high end, a little of 1K on guitars, that they make it cut as well. A bit more no definition, a body on the guitars, and I felt like it needed a bit more low end on the chucks. And it blended well with the bass, so yeah. And on the bass, what I have here? Just a basic filter. You don't need that as well. It's just noise. You can fuck up the tone, but if it's like here 10K or so, you just remove the noise in the top and you don't need it. Yeah, this was rhythm guitars. Then the leads. Again, this is the plugin as well. Just that. Basically the same EQ on the high end part, but I'm removing a lot of low end and the note because I want it to be more separated from the other guitars, and removing the low end makes it gel more with the other guitars. I'm also cutting a lot of the high end as well. On lead guitars, I do this all the time, removing a lot of low end, a lot of high end, and then boosting around here to make it cut. Yeah, that's it. I didn't use any effects or anything on those as well. If I'm missing something, but yeah, I'm not. Clean guitars, they don't have any processing. Toby did an amazing job at it.
For solace,
and then we come to vocals. This was all made in one take, well, one take each. And Javi is an amazing singer. I love how he sounds and on screams. It's insane.
this distance, this dissolution.
I didn't even have to tune his vocals. They were amazing. Like, he did. I think he printed some compression on them a little bit. And yeah, this is what they sounded like.
This distance, this dissolution.
And then this is what I did. I have my console here. You cannot see it, but it's right here. But this is just the basic what it looks like. I basically did a low cut. You can see here 100 Hz, a little bit of compression, a stock compressor. I just click this and then it just you can see here the amount of compression is doing. And much is 3 dB, and what I'm doing this most is because of the EQ, 6 dB on 8K.
This distance, this dissolution.
And then the drive section, I always like to crank this. And yeah, to give it a little bit of edge and saturation to the vocals. If it's screaming, as this was all in one take, I had to balance what I wanted, but it sounded great.
This distance, like heaven.
Yeah, that's it. 1176, again, more or less the same. Well, this was in your face vocal. I used this preset since early days with that I saw Jordan Valeria use this. I love it.
Like heaven!
I always remove the analog off. And yeah, aim for 10 dB of compression with this.
Like heaven! Another moment! Yes! Another eternity!
It makes the singer with every word like a bit punchier and controls it a lot and adds a lot of harmonic distortions. It's awesome.
Distance, this dissolution.
Then de-esser from Pop Filter.
Distance.
Javi has a lot of S sound to it, and maybe it's the microphone as well. I couldn't control it perfectly, but I could remove a lot of it.
Distance, this dissolution.
And then just a room.
Distance, this dissolution.
I didn't go too overboard with the effects because as they were in one take and this was a pretty fast mix, I didn't want to start splitting screams and vocals, and I wanted it to be one take, and this is what I did. The second layer is exactly the same, all the same.
Seek me.
Then here I removed a bit of 1K because I feel like with vocals, I always tend to have a lot of 1K area, and if you boost that, it makes them stand out a lot from the mix and disconnected, so I always cut around that area.
Seek me for comfort, call me for silence, for the end of my broken heart. Seek me completion.
It makes it come a bit with the mix and not above the mix. And this was another de-esser. Nothing crazy. So yeah, these are all the tracks, and then this is the mastering chain I used. I always like this Pultec style EQ on my mix bus. I always use around 1 dB of 100 Hz. I feel like it brings a lot of body to all the mix and glues everything together. See, with this it sounds a bit weak, but when you engage it, it's like instant glue. Yeah. Then I started using this compressor from Ssl. It's basically the typical Ssl compressor, but I like this one from Ssl native. Very fast attack, as you can see, very fast release, just basically acting on the snare. This is quite a usual bass compressor setting for me, but for that you need to have this sidechain, so the kicks are not, everything below 185 is not compressed, so you can basically make it react just for the snare, because if you have it like this, it may see it acts on the kick and it makes it a bit squashed, a bit too compressed. This way you can get away with more 4 ratio, and yeah, that's it. This is the bass compressor. I use this a lot on my mixes. This is basically ping noise. That's the one of the most the human hearing likes a lot this curve. So what I do is EQ match my mix to that. As you can see, it's just 10%, so it's not that much. You just have to press capture, and it captures this blue line. This is my mix, and then the yellow line is the reference that it will automatically match the EQ to. And the white line is basically the EQ that you have to apply to be closer to this line. As you can see, it cut a bit of low end and added more high end. It's very subtle, but it helps with the balance of the mix. Then one of my favorite plugins as well, the inflator. As I'm clipping already after this, I won't clip it on the inflator. I always end up between 20 and 25% of the effect, more or less 2-3 lines here. And then the curve, I always have it a bit above 0. I had it on 0, but normally I have it like here. Again, adding more body to the whole mix. With Reverb, if you click Alt and here, you can basically see what's the difference between the original and what processing is doing here. This is basically what it's adding. Very handy feature to have that. Then Flatline, I use this clipper a lot on my mix bus. This again is basically like doing this, like doing the Alt here to see exactly what is affecting, and I always end up using between -3 or -4 or -5 on the snares, and basically a little bit on the kicks as well. That's it. If you put it on 100%, it's basically like using your standard clipper on Reverb, on whatever DAW you are. You can see hard clipping. It's basically like using free clip or whatever. And as you start moving this, it starts to, as you can see, it starts to soften that. And I just go by ear and just start doing this until it sounds great. It doesn't matter that much though. And then the final limiter, Pro L2, a bit less release than stock, a bit more attack than stock, a little bit more look ahead, removing all the transient link or making it 20% because I don't like it to. I prefer to use it like dual mono rather than that. And for this one I use the release here, but I would usually use both at 15-20%. And then what I do is click here and start listening to every single parameter, Ssl Compressor, and here, so you can see which one gives less noise. And this one was the all-around setting. This is very subtle. It's just the last 1-2 dB of limiting to get a bit more loudness. And yeah, that's it. I know this took a long time to show, but hope you like it. See you in another one.